Hello, this is our research methods class. Our topic is stress and eating habits. My name is Sebastian Ramirez.
I'm Daisy Perez.
I'm Bernice Ignacio.
And Viana Perez.
For our research, we decided to test if there was a positive or negative correlation between eating habits and stress among college students. We used data from scholarly articles to further our knowledge on the topic and create a hypothesis for our group. We compared the data used in the articles in order to apply it to our study. Sources like Sprague's articles, where it states studies focusing on the psychological constructs of eating behavior have reported a link between weight change and dietary restraint, disambition, history of dieting and stress. Studies are comparing the correlation between stress and the negative impacts it has upon a person's eating habits. The usage of strong sources allowed our group to identify the problem and help build our hypothesis. As students, we are trying to understand what causes a person's eating habits to change during a regular school semester and what factors are contributing to a negative and stressful lifestyle. Our group stretched its spectrums and analyzed scholarly articles from student athletes to as well as women who are entering or currently are in the military in order to compare data among the levels of stress that individuals are undergoing. In order to answer such questions and concerns, we conducted a survey among 34 Cal State University Dominguez Hill students in order to obtain results. Testing this hypothesis helped further our knowledge on unhealthy eating patterns while experiencing high levels of stress. After reviewing multiple sources of literature, we can see that stress has multiple negative effects on one's lifestyle, especially on their eating patterns. That the exposure that stress has one eating habit that the exposure that stress has on one eating habits is something to contribute to view and analyze. There is a significant connection between eating habits and stress among college students. Our group strongly believes that this topic should continuously be observed and studied over the course of time. As stated in a stress and eating habits analysis article, which Killick from 2020 article notes that levels of stress vary according to age, sex, and lifestyle. Particularly, they evaluate these levels in university students during an exam period to observe how they might change under this type of stress. This topic should continue to be studied because of generational differences and that the change that contributes to their lifestyle patterns. The correlation between eating habits and stress should not be generalized and should be studied frequently because every individual is different from one another and the stress that affects one may not be a contributing factor in another student's life.
Our hypothesis for this research is stress has a correlation with eating habits. Our independent variable is stress, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. A stressor is something that causes a state of strain or tension. Our dependent variable is eating habits. Conscious, collective, and repetitive behaviors which lead people to select, consume, and use certain foods or diets in response to social and cultural influences. For our methods, we use research questions to be used in a survey of 34 people. These questions were specific to the variables we were using. Both questions were based off as an ordinal level variable because they were exclusive and ranked ordered. For stress, our question was during a school week, how would you rate your stress level? The answers that the people were able to choose were very stressed, 1 very stressed, 2 stressed, 3 neutral, 4 little stressed, and 5 not stressed at all. For eating habits, our question was during a school week, how would you describe your eating habits? For these answers, it was very unhealthy, unhealthy, healthy, and very unhealthy. We analyzed our results by first making a demographic table. Then we used a correlation test to compare our independent and dependent variable. Finally, we made pie charts, bar graph, and histograms to get a visual representation on our results. We did most of this using the SPSS program. Once we had all of our final data, we analyzed it and made our conclusion.
So for our results, we were able to survey 34 different students ranging from the ages of 20 to 38. Amongst those 34, 30 were female, while 4 were male. 31 of those students identified as Hispanic or Latino American, 2 identified as Asian American, and 1 identified as African American. In our histograms, we asked the questions for the past 7 days, how often have you felt stress? The most prominent answer was 4, with 20 students answering. That followed by 5, 3, and 1. For the question during a school week, how would you describe your eating habits on a scale of 1 to 5? The most prominent answer was 3, with 18 students answering 3, followed by 4, 2, and 1. And using a correlational test to measure the data we collected from 34 students, we were able to observe if there is indeed a relationship between our variables. Our results indicate that there is a positive correlation between stress levels and eating habits. According to the Pearson correlation, as levels of stress increase amongst college students, so does their negative eating habits. An alpha of 0.05 is used as the cutoff for significance. The Pearson correlation of our study was less than 0.05, so we conclude that there is a significance in this relationship.
For our discussion, it was based on past research on this topic. Our results supported that there is a positive correlation between eating habits and stress. There are a variety of reasons why this could be so. College students are under high levels of stress, and this influences their eating habits. Our study showed that as students are exposed to more stressors, such as work, school, and life balance, their overall stress increases. This leads to an increase in poor eating choices and ultimately poor eating habits. One of the strengths was that we had the opportunity to use our target population in the study, which was college students, as a sample. Another strength with our study was the ability to provide clear, objective questions for our group, allowing them to feel comfortable when answering truthfully. One of the limitations would be that the sample size was small and limited to only a few college students. Another limitation we faced was based on the gender of the participants who participated in the survey. We noticed that our sample was predominantly female and just a handful of participants were male. In conclusion, we found that there was a positive relationship between eating habits and stress. We found that stress affects eating habits, and college students will eat unhealthy foods in relation to their stress level. Our findings were significant because our study was less than 0.05, and that concludes that the relationship between eating habits and stress is significant.
This concludes our presentation. Thank you. Again, my name is Sebastian Ramirez.
My name is Daisy Perez.
My name is Bernice Ignacio.
And I'm Viana Perez.